September 29th edition of Sports Extra. Another week, another rough Carolina loss. We look at why UNC got mauled in Death Valley and if there's a silver lining.
You get a snack, and you get a snack. The NCAA has a new policy on meal plans, how it affects Carolina athletes.
And Quidditch for Muggles. The magical sport moves up to club status. All that and more, Sports Extra starts
right now.
From the University of North Carolina School of Journalism and Mass Communication, covering the full range of Tar Heel athletics, this is Sports Extra.
A tough week for Carolina athletics on almost every level. Welcome to Sports Extra. I'm Susanna Black.
And I'm Luis Fernandez. There were some rough moments for sure. A few blowout losses. The one that stands out, the football game at Clemson. 2 games, 120 points. The defensive woes continue for the Heels, who managed to make every quarterback look like a Heisman candidate. Once on Saturday, the Heels gave up 50 points to the Clemson Tigers. Big plays all over the place for Clemson's offense. True freshman quarterback Deshaun Watson set record after record, 435 yards passing and 6 touchdowns. The UNC offense struggled in the first half, but turned it on in the second, scoring 28 in the final 30 minutes. The comeback was too little too late, leading to frustration from players and coaches. We're going to go ahead and apologize for that. So that technical difficulty, we'll get back to that in a little bit. So coming up, student athletes require a lot of fuel in order to perform. But just how much do they really need? Our reporter, Sophia Kitchu, brings us the latest about sports nutrition at Carolina.
NCAA recently approved a new rule change allowing Division I athletes to receive unlimited meals and snacks. Earlier this month, UNC officially opened its first fuel bar for student athletes. Nutritionist Mary Ellen Bingham was a key member in making this fuel bar happen.
We decided to do this fueling station that's available to all the student athletes, just recognizing that they have extremely busy schedules, and so we want to make sure that they have more fuel available to them to help meet their needs throughout the day.
2 weeks into opening, the fuel station has proven to be popular amongst athletes.
We've had great feedback from our student athletes and our coaches, and definitely helping to keep their energy levels up throughout the day.
Junior wrestler Chris Mears is making the most of the fuel bar.
Typically, whenever I come in, I get a muscle milk and a Kind bar because I like to keep my calories a little bit lower. But I do like the chocolate milks as well. They're very good.
The fueling station, I feel, is like a step in the right direction for us, but then moving forward, eventually we'd like to have, a meal, lunch every day for all the athletes, and that would obviously be a much bigger project than this, but we feel really grateful that we have this in place for this year.
Could this mean more wins for Carolina?
Could it mean more wins? I think, there's so many moving parts when it comes to taking care of your athletes, and fueling them is definitely one of the most important, foundational pieces, and so maybe.
From Chapel Hill, I'm Sophia Kitchu reporting.
If more fuel does lead to more wins, perhaps members of one particular team, football, should spend a lot of time at the fueling station. Joining us now is the extremely talented and well-informed sports editor for the Daily Tar Heel, Grace Rayner. Grace, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Lewis.
So, Grace, you were at Clemson on Saturday. Thoughts?
The environment down there is crazy. They love their football in Death Valley, and more than 79,000 showed up to watch Clemson play the Tar Heels. It was nuts.
Wow, impressive, really. Let's get to the game, though. Defensively, they did well against the rush, but still a lot of big plays.
Yeah, lots of big plays. A lot of them came from penalties and missed assignments. Those penalties were racked up, a lot of them through pass interference. The Tar Heels racked up 15 penalties for 130 yards, which is the most yards they've had all season. So Clemson QB Deshaun Watson just kind of had a field day with his receivers. They were wide open, and the secondary was missing those assignments. On the offensive side of the ball, the Tar Heels were called for holding, they were called for illegal blocking, and so that certainly kind of interrupted the rhythm of quarterback Marquise Williams. It kind of slowed things down. He was already trying to avoid Vic Beasley, who still sacked him 3 times, but it just didn't really help his cause with all those penalties.
Yeah, well, hopefully baby steps for the offense and for the defense. Offense especially in the first half, not too good. In the second half, much better. What was the reason for that?
Yeah, much better. Marquise Williams just kind of flipped a switch in the second half. In the first half, he only threw for 38 yards. He was very overwhelmed by that atmosphere in Death Valley. And Mitch Trubisky had still only had 49 yards, but at the end of the half, going into the second half, Marquise did kind of flip that switch, and he threw for 307 yards in the second half. He threw for 3 more touchdowns and ended the night with 345.
So, all that time he had to throw really helped. Elijah Hood was able to run the ball with a lot of space. What was the reason for all that time?
Yeah, the offensive line really stepped up, Lewis, in a big time of need. Without veterans Landon Turner and John Heck, underclassmen John Ferranto, Lucas Crowley, Caleb Peterson, Jared Cohen, they all stepped up and kind of gave Marquise the extra time that he needed, the running backs the extra space that they needed, and as you can see, it did make a difference. Yeah,
it definitely did. They were able to do a lot better. Now, we're about a third of the way through the season, so what do you think about this team?
I think the offense is consistently putting up enough points to win games. They scored 35 against Clemson. They scored 41 against ECU. But the defense, they've allowed 120 points in 2 games. And until the two sides kind of start clicking, I think it's going to be a tough battle for the Tar Heels.
Yeah, definitely. There's been a little bit of progress. One thing, they gave up against ECU. They didn't give up against Clemson. They were fighting all the way through. So.
Yeah, they sure were.
Daily Tar Heel Sports editor Grace Rayner, thanks for being here, Grace.
Thanks for having me, Lewis.
Where are they now? Our Jacqueline Matter catches up with a former Carolina baseball player and his journey from the field to the front office.
Wilkinson is a former UNC baseball player that played right here in Bosch Stadium. In 1984, he scored 3 home runs in the ACC tournament. He still holds that record 30 years later. In his senior year, Wilkinson was ACC tournament most valuable player.
The athletics during that time were outstanding with the people that were involved in it. We had good teams. The years I was there, we won 3 ACC championships out of 4 years.
A tireless worker. If you asked Todd, were you the most gifted baseball player, he would say, well, of course I was not. But, tremendous work ethic, determination, drive, leadership abilities.
After spending 1 season with the Expos, Wilkinson took on a new role as an assistant coach at UNC from 1985 to 1987. Soon after, Barton College hired him to be the Bulldogs' head coach, and in 2011, he became the assistant athletic director there.
Baseball had been my life, and it was in my blood, and always a difficult decision, but there comes a time for everybody. I saw my direction going into administration. The door was open to take it.
Although Wilkinson now works in an office, he says college baseball is one of his fondest memories.
First, it's going to go fast. 4 years is going to go very fast. And that you got one time to do this right. You got one time to be a college player.
Now, he helps provide the structure to help current players achieve success. In Chapel Hill, I'm Jacqueline Matter reporting.
Wilkinson coached for 19 years, and with 3 years under his belt as an administrator, could an eventual return to Chapel Hill be in the plans? Basketball season here in Chapel Hill as Late Night with Roy returns this Friday night. Joining us in studio is Brett Thompson, who's here to give us an idea of what to expect from this year's team.
Thanks, Susanna. The first thing that comes to mind when looking at UNC basketball this year is the new faces Coach Roy Williams has brought in. You have Justin Jackson, a 6'8" power forward with great shooting and passing ability. You have Joel Berry, an efficient passer with intangible transition skills. And then you have my personal favorite, Theo Pinson, a hybrid shooting guard small forward with ridiculous bounce, a 6'10" wingspan, and again, the quickness and speed to run Roy Williams' fast break offense efficiently. All 3 of these freshmen should make an immediate impact for the Heels and expect them to see some playing time from the get-go. On top of this, expect the duo of Bryce Johnson and Kennedy Meeks to make a leap in production this year. Bryce Johnson will be the starting center for the Heels following the departure of James Michael McAdoo, and Kennedy Meeks is now down to 270 pounds. That's down from the 317 he arrived at Carolina with. A more slender Meeks, combined with the already offensively sound Bryce Johnson, should lead UNC to finally reestablishing itself as a force in the paint. Finally, this might be the deepest Tar Heel lineup in years. You have the core group of Marcus Page, Nate Britt, JP Tokoto, and Johnson and Meeks, as well as the 3 freshmen, Luke Davis, Jackson Simmons, shot blocking machine Desmond Hubert, and yes, the returning Stormin' Mormon, Stillman White. It could be a very exciting season for the Heels. Roy Williams finally has a team with experience, and Susanna, it's not hard to imagine these guys making a deep run into March.
A run like that would be something special, and it all starts on Friday when we'll find out who among them can dance. That was Brett Thompson in studio. Thanks, Brett.
One shows off her quick feet on stage, the other
relies on quick feet on the pitch. We learn more about this talented family next on Sports Extra.
With us online by liking the Sports Extra Facebook page and following us on Twitter at @SportsExtra_UNC.
Places, everybody.
Light check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Everything looks good on our end.
And lights.
Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education.
Right up here.
So every year I take promising high schoolers on a college tour to show them that higher education means a brighter future. My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
You can be a reader, tutor, or mentor too. Take the pledge at liveunited.org/volunteer.
Do you wear this?
For over 70 years, Smokey Bear has asked you to use fire responsibly.
Fire is due to an unattended campfire.
Go time.
Here's how you can stay on the front lines of preventing wildfires. Always watch your campfire before leaving. Drown it, stir it, drown it again, and feel that the fire is out cold.
Oh, bullseye!
And you won't need a visit from these guys.
Copy that.
You can be Smokey's wingman when enjoying nature and prevent wildfires. Visit SmokeyBear.com for more fire prevention tips.
The Wolfpack was looking to make a statement on the soccer field Sunday, but the Lady Tar Heels kept the pack quiet after this play resulted in a potential season-ending knee injury for senior Brooke Elby. The Heels kicked it into high gear. Amber Munnerlyn landed this shot across the frame into the net. Then Munnerlyn and Joanna Boyles assisted on this shot by Paige Nielsen to the far post. NC State scored in a second, but the Heels prevailed 2-1. To the Tar Heel fans, the name Dorrance means unrivaled success in women's soccer, but Amanda Lee tells us the name extends far beyond the pitch.
Here in Chapel Hill, the name Dorrance has become synonymous with excellence. Anson Dorrance has been the head coach of the UNC women's soccer program for 33 years and has won 22 national titles. But Anson isn't the only Dorrance who knows a thing or two about fancy footwork. His daughter Michelle has made a name for herself as a rhythm tap dancer and choreographer.
And even for my untrained artistic eye, I could see that she had some special qualities. I'm a soccer coach, so I could tell her feet were exceptionally quick.
Michelle's mother, Melissa, was a professional ballet dancer and owns a dance school in Chapel Hill. And Michelle says both of her parents have influenced her work.
I love that my mom is in the arts and my dad is in athletics, and I love both so much. I even though I'm a tap dancer, so people say, why'd you choose your mom instead of your dad? And tap couldn't be further from what my mom does, except that of course you use your body, but you use your body in soccer in a very similar way.
Coach Dorrance says he doesn't know how his success has affected Michelle, but also says he and his wife used their unique perspectives to help Michelle while she was growing up.
And I think one thing that was good about having her mother as a dance teacher and me as a coach is for us not to go completely overboard when her first recital was concluded, as if she was going to ascend through the tap heaven.
Maybe Michelle hasn't ascended through tap heaven, but she's come pretty close. She's danced with prestigious companies, performed with Stomp for 4 years, and now she owns her own company, Dorrance Dance. Michelle returned to Chapel Hill this weekend to perform her production, The Blues Project, at Memorial Hall. She's performed around the world and says performing in her hometown is special.
As I'm so proud and inspired by both of my folks, I also want to be connected to the world that they have given so much to. It's really an honor to come and perform at Memorial Hall. It's really exciting. So I'm just happy to be here, happy to be home.
In Chapel Hill, I'm Amanda Lee reporting.
Michelle got her start with the North Carolina Youth Tap Ensemble and still has close ties to the group.
Men's soccer traveled to South Bend to take on Notre Dame Friday night in a high-profile match between two top 5 teams. The Tar Heels put together some early chances despite Notre Dame's strong defense. Notre Dame scored on its first chance of the match when Jeff Farina sent a cross past the goalkeeper. The Fighting Irish put the game away on a goal by Leon Brown, handing Carolina its 3rd loss of the season, 2-0. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Members of the volleyball team lived out that line from your English class this weekend, but in reverse, the worst came first. After getting beat by FSU on Friday in 3 sets, Carolina bounced back to grab its first conference win. The Heels sliced the Syracuse Orange Sunday afternoon thanks to blocks like this from Paige Neuenfeld. The Tar Heels won in 3 sets this time, even though the quick turnaround after a loss was a tough task. To talk about this weekend in volleyball, Molly Oak joins us in studio. Molly, what happened on Friday?
When you go into Tallahassee, you're going to see a huge statue that says Unconquered, and that remains true. With Florida State ranked number 6 and North Carolina ranked number 12, the two schools own the best combined ranking for an ACC duo in the history of the AVCA poll. That means Friday was the highest ranked matchup between 2 ACC teams in history, which also means it was shaping up for some great volleyball, and I was very excited to see it. Unfortunately, UNC came up short with the Noles sweeping the Heels in 3, with the 3rd game going 32-30. There was 27 attacking errors and a really big lack of momentum that did us in. We gave up a lot of points and didn't capitalize on opportunities that could have made a difference in the 3rd game and maybe could have taken us to a 4th and then a 5th for the win. Fortunately, we're ending on a positive note with a sweep of Cuse on Sunday, which makes the 6th straight home win this season. Now, people talk about the big hitters a lot, but someone who shined on Sunday was number 13 setter Jordan Schnabel. UNC runs a 6-2 offense, so she is one of the 2 setters who see the court. She does a great job moving the ball around and even knowing when to dump, set, or wherever she's going. She's a junior, so we'll be seeing a lot of her next year. I think her leadership on the court is not only key for a winning season, but also for some postseason play. And speaking of the future, let's take a look at what the Tar Heels have coming for them. This week, the Heels are traveling to Pitt on Friday and then to Clemson on Sunday. Both teams are unranked, so it should be an easy matchup. I'm thinking this Clemson game will turn out a little differently than the football game. Back to you, Susanna.
Thanks, Molly. That was Molly Oak, volleyball analyst.
The women's lacrosse season doesn't start until February, but it's never too soon to get some practice in. The Tar Heels took the field against Duke in a scrimmage on Friday, looking to gain some experience for an especially young unit. While the teams didn't keep score, Carolina still did its best to light up the scoreboard, scoring a number of goals in the second half. Goalkeeper Megan Ward made some solid saves, and the scrimmage had to be considered an overall success. After a solid regular season last year, men's lacrosse had to come home after the first round of the NCAA tournament. The comeback this year begins with the blue and white scrimmage, featuring an entirely different roster. There's a ton of young talent, that's for sure. For 12 players on the team, this is their first year with the Heels. This class has a lot of potential, though. Inside Lacrosse ranks it as the 5th best in the nation. Senior attackman Joey Sankey and Jimmy Bitter will be offensive leaders. Last year, Sankey had 33 goals and 24 assists. That's 57 points, the most on the team. The 2 sides didn't keep score in the scrimmage. Gamers unite! Get out your computers and keyboards.
Next on Sports Extra, move over basketball. Could esports be the newest varsity program?
A full life, measured in seats, starts with the right ones early on. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Learn how to prevent deaths and injuries by using the right car seat for your child's age and size.
Hey, Hard, what's this? That's my resignation letter. You're resigning? Why? Because you're constantly ignoring me. You're half as active as you used to be, and you get stuff like this. You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit. I forgot. I'll do better. Please, don't quit on me. Okay. But remember, it's not what you say, it's what you do.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you.
Let's go for a walk.
Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
Today, 1 out of every 4 American kids is Hispanic.
That means many of the future doctors who will care for us, the engineers who will build our cities, the scientists and entrepreneurs of our country can be your kids.
We all know how hard it is for you to send them to college. This is why we want you to know you are not alone.
And every day more people support you to make it happen. Many support you. And the Hispanic Scholarship Fund helps you prepare, plan, and pay for your kids' college education.
HSF.net.
No more pencils, no more books, no more teachers, dirty looks.
School's out!
For summer.
What this place needed was better graduation rates. So we worked with schools like Henry Ford High, and now they're up 18%. To help us do more good this year, go to unitedway.org, because great things happen when we live united.
The field hockey team was in Newton, Massachusetts all weekend. 2 games against ranked teams and 2 more wins for UNC. Friday, Carolina traveled to 6th-ranked Boston College and defeated the Eagles 3-2. Charlotte Craddock scored the game-winning goal 5 minutes into overtime. The Heels got some revenge this weekend, too. UNC knocked off the Yukon Huskies 2-1. Craddock was at it again, scoring the winning goal in this game as well. The Huskies beat UNC in the NCAA tournament last year. The difficult schedule continues for Carolina. The team takes on 3rd-ranked Virginia Friday in Henry Stadium.
The UNC swimming and diving teams were back in the pool for a scrimmage that pitted white against blue. This scrimmage gave UNC swimmers and divers a chance to break meet records. Sophomore Katie Munch accomplished that feat in the 200-yard breaststroke, and junior Emma Nunn did it in the 200-yard medley relay. The blue team sealed the deal in the final leg of the distance medley relay, winning the meet and taking home the scrimmage trophy. 3 members of the men's tennis team will continue on in the ITA All-American qualifier. Sophomore Jack Murray and freshman Robert Kelly will join junior Brett Clark after advancing to the Final 16 on Sunday. Murray clinched his spot with a 6-4, 6-2 victory, and Kelly won 6-4, 6-1. Clark bypassed the pre-qualifier altogether thanks to his stellar performance last season. The first-round matches begin late Monday afternoon.
You think of sports and you think of a field or a court and with a ball and a goal. But what about a computer and a keyboard? Our Kayla Gibson looked into the emerging esports trend and what one college did to legitimize gaming as a sport.
Until recently, most people wouldn't have considered playing video games a sport. But according to UNC esports president Danny Kao, that's changing.
Esports is following a similar path that sports are taking.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
The video game League of Legends is challenging the idea of what a sport really is. The game has 27 million players daily and organized teams, drafts, and fan bases for professional players. League's World Championship last year sold out to a crowd at the Staples Center in Los Angeles.
It's not as intensive in terms of like an athletic, like physical sense, but I guess in terms of a mental sense, it's just as like taxing on a person, I guess.
It's become so popular that Robert Morris University made League of Legends a varsity sport. The Illinois private school will be offering scholarships up to $50,000. Kao says he would welcome the idea if it caught on.
I would definitely kind of try to do something if we could do that at UNC, but it's probably a long ways off.
Associate Athletic Director Beth Miller agrees.
I think it'd have to kind of really evolve and come through the process, and as far as even being considered a sport on the national level.
Miller says UNC hasn't added a varsity sport to its program since women's rowing in the 90s. But will esports become part of the university sports universe? Kao says he thinks it's possible.
There will still always be that stigma that we're just gamers. But I mean, the fact that one university has done it already, that sets the precedent that it will be kind of spawning up maybe in the future.
And for gamers across the country, that would be a victory. In Chapel Hill, I'm Kayla Gibson, reporting.
We have a cross-country sighting. Both the men's and women's teams traveled to Minnesota for the Roy Griak Invitational. A solid performance all around. Both teams finished in the top 10 overall. The women finished third with 174 points. Senior Leanne Farber led the Heels, timing in at 21 minutes and 31 seconds for the 6K. The Tar Heels finished ahead of 4 ranked teams. The men's team finished in 9th place with 302 points. Senior John Ranieri led Carolina, running the 8K race in 25 minutes and 15 seconds. In 3 weeks, cross country will head to the University of Wisconsin Invite. UNC has 99 problems, but a snitch ain't one.
We take a look at how this magical sport is joining the Carolina community.
Don't forget to tune in to our sister shows, Carolina Week at 5 p.m. every Wednesday on Time Warner 24 or Campus Channel 34, and Carolina Connection at 8:30 every Saturday morning on WCHL 97.9 FM.
My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
I wouldn't use this one.
He helps me with my decision making.
Ever.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
If you store your guns properly, I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside.
Safer when walking home.
I won't have to tell so many family members. I'm sorry.
I won't hear as many scary stories.
And I won't have to tell my kids this isn't a drill.
Please.
Please, do it for us.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Remember, always, lock it up. Visit ncpc.org.
That's low. That's low and below. Look, he's blushing. Seriously.
How do you take a contest from a fiction book and turn it into a real live club sport?
AJ Nwoko has our answer.
J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series introduced the world to a magical sport known as Quidditch, but you don't have to travel to Hogwarts to experience that same high-flying action. That's the case with UNC's Quidditch team as it begins its first season as an official club sport. President of the team, Dylan Myers, says it took a lot to turn this mystical pastime into UNC Club Sport's newest edition.
First off, we had to prove that we could maintain a club that actually existed year to year, and at the same time be competitive.
And although the sport may stem from a work of fiction, Quidditch captain Max Maselli says it's pretty real to the players.
We're going pretty hard. You have a lot of people running around with dodgeballs trying to peg people in the face as hard as they can. And you have other people that are trying to hit people as hard as they can. It gets pretty real.
Away from a serious game, you don't step on a field and come off without some mark to show for it.
For a muggle like you or me, running around with a broom or ball in hand might seem kind of tough. But Myers says all newcomers need is a little time.
It's a lot to pick up, but a week, 2 weeks of practice, and it'll feel second nature.
And after coming in 24th in last year's World Cup, a snitch isn't the only thing this team is seeking.
Winning nationals is what we want to do.
Maselli says the toughest obstacle doesn't come from beaters or bludgers, but what others say.
So many people that I hear that like to laugh at it, make fun of it, and that sort of deal. They've never watched a game or anything like that. They don't understand how it works.
Success in sports often comes down to just having fun. And that definitely applies to this sport.
At the end of the day, you're running around with a broomstick in between your legs. If you're taking yourself seriously, you're doing it wrong.
And Myers has answered for any skeptics who still might question the team's standing as an official club sport.
Come out to the tournament, come out to one of our practices. If you see us, then you're not going to walk away doubting.
And with that attitude, you don't have to be a Quidditch player to know this club sport is a keeper. In Chapel Hill, I'm AJ Nwoko reporting.
So, Susanna, what's your favorite Harry Potter book?
It's a tough choice, but I would definitely have to say Prisoner of Azkaban.
Tough choice indeed. I'd say Goblet of Fire.
That's a good one. I guess we can have our differences. That does it for this edition of Sports Extra. Thanks for watching.
Have a great night.